Hello. Today we have lesson 9, continuous past tense, compound sentences, adjective clauses. Let's start. We start with the definition for this tense. This tense, continuous past, is used to show that something continued for some time in the past. The past continuous is made from the past tense of the verb to be and the ing form of the verb. So we have was, were plus verb ing. The pronouns that came with this tense are the same that came with all other tenses, but the difference is in the auxiliary. So we have the following: I was walking, you were writing, he was playing, she was watching, it was raining, we were waiting, you were driving, they were studying. Let us take a look for this diagram. We have the continuous past tense in affirmative. So we have the subject plus was and were plus verb ing, and we have past continuous tense in the negative, and we have the subject was and were plus not plus verb ing, and we have the following example: she was not sleeping when he came home. Or in the affirmative we have she was cooking all morning. And in yes no questions we have was, were at the beginning of the sentence plus the verb plus the subject, and then comes the verb ing verb form. Was she sleeping when he came home? So these are the forms, the three forms that we can have continuous past tense. And in addition, for yes no questions we have information questions, of course. So the patterns for the continuous past tense are the same for continuous present tense. The difference is that the tense of the verb to be is in the past. So instead of having is and are and we only have was and were. It is necessary to use time expressions in order to point to the time. Unless the time is mentioned in a previous sentence, time phrases and clauses are used as well. So there is a need to mention the time where the action take place in the past in order to make a difference between this tense and other tenses in the past. We can have time phrases such as a certain time specified, like yesterday at 9 a.m., last week at 9 a.m., last week on Sunday, 3 years ago in May. So we need to specify the time where the action take place. We can have other time expressions like always, constantly, at that time, in those days, all day, all evening, 4 hours. You can make or pay attention for using always here. Always is used with simple present tense, but here we also use it with continuous past tense to refer to the accidents or the events that happened in the past, but they were taking a place at that time for a continued period of time. So in the affirmative, we can have sentences such as, at 3 o'clock yesterday, I was walking in the garden. So I have the time expression at the beginning of the sentence. I was talking to my neighbor when she told me about the fire that started across the street. So I have the time phrase here that starts with when, and I mentioned the time that happened, where when I was talking to my neighbor. When I was talking to my neighbor, I was talking to her when she told me about the fire that started across the street. I was working in the garden all day yesterday. I was driving to work when I crashed my car. I just pay attention that I have used only the pronoun I. We can replace it with other pronouns as well, or other names or nouns actually. So I can say he was watching a movie while I was flying to Dubai. Okay? So I can use other pronouns. With negative sentences, we have they weren't working in the garden all day yesterday. I wasn't driving to work when I crashed my car. And we have questions, the two types of questions, yes no questions, like was he working in the garden 3 o'clock yesterday? Or when were you watching a movie? This is an information question, and we use the information word when. Were they working in the garden all day yesterday? So I have the two types of questions here, yes no questions and information questions. I would like you to pay attention for this timeline, الخط الزمني. We mentioned in the previous lesson, that we use time clauses. The time clauses that we used with simple past tense started with the clause markers when and while, and we also studied clauses that start with after and before. So in this lesson, with continuous past tense, we have time clauses that start with when and while. But the difference is in the tense of the clause. With simple past tense, we studied that while and when are followed by simple past tense as well. But with the continuous past tense, it's different. If we use while in order to express the time event when it takes place, we need to pay attention that while refers to the whole duration, the whole period of time. So in this case, it is a continuous activity. That's why when you use while with the continuous past tense, we use it plus continuous past tense. So the tense of the time clause when it starts with while is continuous past tense. But if the clause starts with when, the tense will be only simple past tense. Why? Because when refers to a specific period in the time, in the past. Okay? أي أنه عندما نستخدم while كأداة بداية لعبارة زمنية، علينا أن نضع في اعتبارنا أن while تشير إلى الفترة الزمنية بأكملها. متى وقع الحدث خلال فترة زمنية معينة، أي أن الزمن بعد while سوف يكون عبارة عن فترة زمنية كاملة مستمر فيها الحدث. وبهذه الحالة يكون الزمن الذي يحتوي على while زمن ماضي مستمر. أما عند استخدام العبارة الزمنية التي تبدأ when، فالزمن بعد when يكون ماضي بسيط. لماذا؟ لأن when تستخدم للإشارة إلى نقطة زمنية في الماضي حدث فيها الفعل، وبالتالي تكون الدلالة when وما بعدها إلى نقطة في الماضي وليس للاستمرارية. فنخلي في بالنا هذا الاختلاف. الجملة الأصلية يكون زمنها ماضي مستمر، هذا منتهي من عنده. التايم اكسبريشنز أو التايم كلوزز عندي هنا العبارات الزمنية هو اللي راح يختلف عندي الزمن بيها. إذا كانت تبدأ بوايل راح يكون ماضي مستمر كذلك، لأن هي أشارت إلى الفترة الزمنية بأكملها. أما إذا كانت تبدأ بوين سيكون الزمن بعدها ماضي بسيط، لأن وين تشير إلى نقطة زمنية في الماضي وليس إلى مرحلة بأكملها. هذا بعيدا عن الجملة الأصلية اللي قلنا إنها definitely will be in the past continuous tense. Let us move for compound sentences. الجمل المركبة. What do we mean by compound sentences? We have studied how to connect sentences by using but, and, semicolon, But now we are going to join the two sentences in order to make one without any repetition. So we are going to use the contents of the two sentences in one sentence. أي أننا بدل من أن نستخدم الجملتين بأكملهما للربط أو لنربط بينهما، على العكس سوف يتم تغيير في سياق إحدى الجملتين عند دمجهما مع بعضهما. متى تحصل هذه الحالة؟ When two sentences have different subjects، فواعل مختلفة، but the same predicates. predicates معناها التكملة، ما تبقى من الجملة بعد الفاعل، أو نقدر نسميه الخبر. يعني إذا إحنا عندنا باللغة العربية قد تكون يعني قريبة لنا، راح يكون عندي السبجكت هنا يمثل المبتدأ وبريديكيت يمثل الخبر. أوكي، أو بقية الجملة. So if the two sentences have the same predicates, they are sometimes combined to make a compound sentence. The predicate is reduced to the first auxiliary of the verb phrase. إذن سوف يتم تقليل الجملتان. نستخدم الجملة الأولى كاملة، لكن الجملة الثانية سوف يتم يعني نقدر نقول اختصارها وتقليل كلماتها إلى الأوكسيلري الموجود في العبارة الفعلية. أوكي؟ طبعا يوجد لدي طريقتان لدمج الجمل لتركيبهما بهذه الطريقة. Sentences are combined with to and either. هذا النوع من الجمل عندما يكون عندي الفعل مختلف بينما الخبر أو بقية الجملة متشابه، تربط ب to أو either. To used with affirmative sentences، الجمل المثبتة. Jack was working in the dorm. His roommate was working in the dorm. لاحظوا الفاعل مختلف، بقية الجملة متشابهة. So I will get the following compound sentence. Jack was working in the dorm and his roommate was too. Either is used with negative sentences. If I say Jack didn't know about decorating, his roommate didn't know about decorating, so I can combine these sentences to get a compound sentence like Jack didn't know about decorating and his roommate didn't either. Let's take a look at the following examples. Bill lives in a private room and George does too. His father visited him last week and his mother did too. Pay attention. الجملة الرئيسية هنا عندي بها فعل رئيسي فقط، الزمن مضارع بسيط، فتلقائيا أنا ما عندي auxiliary كان بالجملة الثانية. فليش خليت auxiliary؟ لأن القاعدة تقول الجملة الثانية تقلل إلى أول auxiliary فيها، فأنا ما عندي أصلا auxiliary فاستخدمت verb to do، لأن هذا اللي هو أسويه مع زمن الماضي البسيط والمضارع البسيط. فبالجملة الأولى والثانية استخدمت does و did حتى أعوض عن الauxiliary اللي هو ما موجود أصلا بالجملة. Miss Sally doesn't participate in the project and Mr. Holmes doesn't either. So I combined the sentences by using to with affirmative sentences and by using either with negative sentences. We can have sentences that contain used to and have to. What do we do with such sentences? We also replace them by do. So I say, they used to play video games and I did too. إذن الجملة الثانية كانت بالأصل تحتوي على used to أيضا، لكن أنا اختصرتها لأول auxiliary اللي هو بهاي الحالة راح استخدم did، لأن أنا درست إنه used to ممكن أعوض عنها بالauxiliary did في حالة السؤال والنفي وحتى في حالة combination in compound sentences. He has to work now and she does too. Mary had to go for shopping and I did too. Your friend didn't have to listen to him, and you didn't either. So I have sentences, affirmative sentences combined, and we add to for them, or we have negative sentences and we add either or either actually for them. And we can have a different form or a different state. When the predicates contrasts affirmative and negative, nothing follows the second verb. So إذا وحدة من الجمل تتناقض مع الثانية، مو اثنيناتهم مثبتة أو اثنيناتهم منفية، لا، وحدة منهم مثبتة وحدة منفية. Nothing follows the second verb. إذن الفعل التالي الموجود في الجملة لا يليه لا to ولا either. فبهذه الحالة Jack didn't know about decorating but the other boys did. انتهى الموضوع، ما ضفت to ولا either. Martha's sister arrived late but I didn't. عندي هنا الجزء الثاني كان هو المنفي وليس الجزء الأول، في نفس الحالة ما ضفت لا to ولا either. We have so and neither. These two words can also be used instead of to and either. The difference is that they immediately follow the connective. They immediately come after but or after and. The difference is that the word order of the second clause is inverted. يعني ما تبقى من الجملة الثانية يتم عكسه. يعني احنا التسلسل المنطقي عندي يكون subject verb، لا، من يكون عندي الربط باستخدام so و neither راح يكون عندي ما بعد ال so وال neither راح يصير عندي اكو عكس بالجملة، فتلقائيا اخلي مجموعة الفعل بالبداية وبعدين مجموعة الفاعل. اوكي، فخلونا يعني نشوف الامثلة أدنى. So we have sentences like Jack was working with the decorating committee and so was his roommate. So the original sentence was شنو كانت الجملة الأصلية؟ Jack was working with the decorating committee and قبل and راح نقدر نقول his roommate was working with the decorating committee. فاللي اختلف عندي إن أنا قدمت الفعل اللي هو الverb was على السبجكت his committee his roommate sorry إلى النهاية. يعني وكأنما نفس الطريقة اللي نتعامل بها مع yes no questions، نقدم الفعل على الفاعل بس بدون تغيير. شنو عندي بالجملة هو اللي أقدمه، فعل رئيسي، فعل مساعد whatsoever. With neither I will say Jack didn't know much about decorating and neither did his roommate. The same is done. I moved the verb before the subject, or the verb precedes the subject in this case. In this lesson, we will take other information or extra information about adjective clauses that modify nouns. We studied nouns that modify nouns. We studied for phrase that modify nouns. We studied for phrase that modify. We also studied in previous lessons that the adjective clause, or actually the adjective phrase, modify nouns and they follow them. Adjective phrases modify nouns and they follow the nouns they modify. Here we are going to move for adjective clauses, not only adjective phrases. So take a look at the following examples. This is the watch which my uncle bought for me. This is the city where I live. So you can see that we have moved from using after, before, when, while, to use which, where, according to the meaning of the clause, why I am using it. So I'm using this clause in the first example in order to give extra information about the watch, and the watch I referred to it by which. This is the city where I live because the city is a place, I used where. The clause marker is the subject of the clause. This is another state where the close marker is the subject of the clause. يعني عندي هنا العبارتين أو المثالين الأولين ببداية عندي which my uncle bought for me. راح تلاحظون إن في هذه العبارة بعد الكلوز ماركر which أكو عندي my uncle هو الفاعل، bought هو الفعل، for me هذه طبعا adjective phrase اجت عندي حتى تصف الفعل، تنطيني يعني معلومات إضافية. This is the city where I live. هذه هي المدينة حيث أعيش. Where عندي هنا هي close marker. I هو subject، live هو الفعل. فبهذه الحالة عندي هنا close، لكن هذه الكلوز نوعها هو adjective clause، عبارة وصفية تحتوي على فاعل وعلى فعل وعلى close marker. راح أجي الآن إلى نوع آخر من ال adjective clauses اللي يكون فيها ال close marker هو الفاعل، مثل the other boys who were in the committee. الأولاد الآخرون الذين كانوا في اللجنة. who were in the committee. who هي subject، were الفاعل، in the committee عندي هنا prepositional phrase. The ones who didn't come last Sunday. who أيضا عندي هنا هي الفاعل بالنسبة لهذه الكلوز، didn't الفعل، وcome last day هي طبعا didn't come هي كلها نقدر نقول verb phrase هي العبارة الفعلية، و last Sunday هي adverb of time. So I would like you to pay attention for the difference that we are going to see in the sentences. So instead of using only the phrases and the adjectives, we have adjectives as single words, we have adjective phrases, and here we have adjective clauses. Let us move for studying several words and know how can we use them in the sentences and what do they mean. Let's start with each. Each directs attention to the separate members of a group. يعني إنها تشير إلى كل فرد موجود في المجموعة. Each boy had a special job to do. Each student studies grammar in English department. Each is always singular and requires a singular verb. انتبهوا لهذه الملاحظة. Each هي دائما مفردة ويكون تطابق الفعل معها، فالفعل دائما يكون في صيغة مناسبة للمفرد. Every means each member of a group، تعني كل شخص من ضمن المجموعة. We use every plus singular noun to refer individually to all the members of a complete group of something. إذن عندما أستخدم every تكون متبوعة دائما باسم. هذا الاسم المفرد اللي هي تكون متبوعة به يشير بشكل مفرد إلى كل الأعضاء الموجودين في مجموعة معينة. Every boy had to participate. Every employee has a CV. لاحظوا أن بهذه الحالة أيضا عندي الفعل صار بصيغة المفرد لأنه توافق مع الاسم الذي جاء بعد every. So every plus a singular noun, it is also followed by a singular verb. We are going to move for all. All means whole, entire. It stresses the concept of a unit. It is used before plurals and uncountable nouns. إذا تستخدم قبل الأسماء الجمع والأسماء الغير معدودة. أخلي في بالي إذا معلومة مهمة، إذا إجى عندي اسم جمع راح يكون شيء الاستخدام، وإذا إجى بعدها اسم غير معدود راح يكون عندي شيء مختلف. It can be followed by فهذا أيضا أخلي في بالي. All the boys worked hard. أقدر أقول all the boys وأقدر أقول all of the boys worked hard. All the students study hard. لاحظوا students جمع، study وراها فعل تناسق أو توافق مع الاسم الجمع. They did all the work in one day أو they did all of the work in one day. وعندي أيضا عكس all عندي not all which means part، يعني من أقول not all معناها ليس الكل، فإن معناها جزء من هذا الكل. Not all the students study hard. إذا نفس الصيغة نفس الطريقة، كل ما هنالك أنها تكون مسبوقة بنوت وراح تنطيني معنى مختلف للأداة أو للكلمة all وحدها. Not all the boys were on the decorating committee. فبهاي الحالة اختلف عندي معنى all، فبدل ما كانت تدل إلى المجموعة بأكملها not all انطتني معنى الجزء. أوكي، الجزء من هذه المجموعة. طبعا على مر هذه الدروس الماضية والآن الكلمات اللي أخذناها في هذا الدرس we have compound words، كلمات مركبة على غرار الجمل المركبة التي تدمج مع بعضها. عندي compound words we use any, every, with some, with other words, okay, to form compounds with other words like someone, anybody, no one, everywhere. You can check page 151 in your book. You have extra information and extra examples regarding compound words. These are very important. I would like you to memorize them. It's the only way you can use them correctly. Let's take extra information about any. We have studied any as a quantity term, okay? Besides being an expression of a quantity, any also means it doesn't matter which one. يعني هي تعني أنه لا يهمنا المقصود. إذا هي ليست مستخدمة للإشارة المباشرة للشخص أو لكمية، أي كمية. This is the usual meaning of any when it is used in affirmative statements. إذن عندما يعني احنا درسنا أن any مع الكميات تأتي مع الجمل المنفية، لكن عندما تأتي مع الجمل المثبتة فراح يكون المعنى مختلف، راح لا تدل على الكمية، تدل على أي شيء. Parents may visit their sons any Sunday، فصارت عندي هنا ليست إشارتها للكمية. Any father may visit his son's room. Anyone can learn to decorate. فصارت عندي الإشارة مختلفة باستخدام any وليس فقط إشارتها إلى الكميات. Let's take other information regarding the word one. One means number one. This word is used in two ways. As indefinite pronoun, one means any or every person. This is a very formal use. We see it in writing as in one must eat to live. But in conversation, these uses are, or actually we do not use one in this sense while we speak. We use it formally in writing. The second use for one is mentioned in your books on page 152. Sorry, I didn't include the second use for one in this slide. It is used to avoid repetition. So, it is often substituted for a noun or a noun phrase. When used in this way, it has a plural form once. So, يعني كلمة one إما أنها تأتي طبعا بمعنى رقم واحد، وبهذه الحالة الاستخدام الأول يكون الاستخدام الرسمي إلها الذي يستخدم في الكتابة ولا يستخدم كثيرا في المحادثات اليومية، ويشار فيها إلى يعني indefinite person pronoun، يعني بشكل عام نتحدث بيها، يعني هي نقدر نقول ضمير عام للتحدث. فهذا هو الاستخدام الأول. أما الاستخدام الثاني is to avoid repetition، لتفادي التكرار، ولهذا هي يعني تحل محل اسم أو عبارة اسمية، وبهذه الحالة أيضا ممكن أن يكون عندي ones، أوكي، يكون عندي plural، لأن أنا تلقائيا ممكن أقول one وقصدي شخص، أو ones وقصدي مجموعة أشخاص أو أشياء. So this is the second use of one. So I would like you to pay attention for the A, B, C uses of one. And I have C on page 152 as well. Ones is not used immediately following plural demonstratives, quantity expressions, or possessives. It is used when another modifier stands between. So we can get sentences like, do you need any ties? Yes, I need two. If I say, I need a couple too, salesman will say, or actually it is a complete conversation. I would like you to take a look for this conversation. And if you didn't understand it, it's okay. We can negotiate and, speak about it or talk about it later in the following lectures. Let us move for another item. It's about other. Other is used as a modifier or an adjective, okay? And it is also used as a pronoun. As an adjective, other stands before the word it modifies. So it works like an adjective. الصفة تسبق الموصوف. فother نفس الحالة ممكن إذا استخدمت كصفة إنها تجي قبل الموصوف. The plural form is never used in modifying position. صيغة الجمع من عندها اللي هي others مستحيل إنها تجي بموقع الصفة. فأقدر أقول another boy وأقدر أقول other boys, another day, other days. I have the simple form other, I have the singular form another, I have the plural form others. As a pronoun كضمير, other fills the subject or object position in a sentence pattern or the noun position in a phrase or clause. ممكن تجي إذن other بموقع الفاعل أو الفعل إذا تجي هنا كضمير، وممكن إنها تجي بموقع المفعول به أو في موقع الفاعل. بالنسبة للكلوزز احنا درسنا الكلوزز إنها تحتوي أحيانا تحتوي على فاعل، فممكن إنه يكون هذا الفاعل ضمير وممكن يكون other, another, others. ونخلي في بالنا إنه when other or others is preceded by the، عندما تسبق بthe، those words indicate the remaining item or all the remaining items of a group. عندما تستخدم other و another قبلها the يعني مسبوقة بthe، فهذا راح يدل على كل ما تبقى من مجموعة معينة. فأقدر أقول the other boys on the committee، إذن كلهم all except مجموعة معينة. The others were working inside، إذن البقية كانوا يعملون في الداخل. معناها البقية كانوا يعملون في الداخل، أكو أشخاص ما كانوا يعملون في الداخل، فإذن هنا نحن نشير فيها إلى ما تبقى من مجموعة معينة. Never use the before another، إذن another لا يستخدم قبلها the، فقط عندي others و other ممكن تكون إنها مسبوقة بذا. لاحظوا الطلاب أن كل هذه الملاحظات اللي ذكرناها سابقا هي مشابهة لملاحظات أخرى مرت علينا بالدروس الماضية عن معنى كلمات معينة وطريقة استخدامها في الجمل. I would like you to pay attention for what we have on page 152 الملاحظات الخاصة ب1. أنا كان عندي يعني درجت بالسلايد فقط الملاحظة الأولى A. We have B and C. B ما بها أي مشكلة، عندنا فقط C اللي هي تكون لا تستخدم مباشرة بعد الأسماء التي تشير إلى الجمع. بإمكانكم أن تطلعون عليها، وإذا كان أكو مشكلة في فهمها بإمكاننا أن نوضحها أكثر بالتفصيل in another lecture. Thank you very much for listening. I wish you all the best, and I would like you to pay attention for the content of this lecture. Thank you very much.